My paper and my discourse this morning intend to raise the attention and the awareness of people about genocide that has been carried out in Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Central Africa, by troops from Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, and which is described by the UN, the United Nations report. They call it the mapping exercise report. And the point is that when we talk about genocide, we need to be aware that genocide is, yes, a human rights violation, but which has a different way of assessing than other human rights violations. And the case of the Congo and even Sudan and other genocide that took place in many other parts of the world, but they are still not recognized by others that they are genocide. And for the case of the Congo, first of all, we need to know that if we talk about human rights violation and genocide in the Congo, we need to go back to this history of Rwanda and its Hutu and Tutsi political and ethnic rivalry. When in Rwanda, when genocide was committed in Rwanda in 1994, it went to Congo because Hutu who killed Tutsi in Rwanda fled to Congo in 1994. Then the government of Rwanda went to Congo to track down Hutu who were and who are still until today hidden in Congo forest. Congo is a big country with rainforest, the second rainforest, world rainforest after the Amazon in Brazil. So they can hide there and stay there, and they are still killing people there. They are still raping women, unfortunately. In my essay, I discussed those mass killings that the army of Rwanda carried out in Congo, and the UN committee that assessed them called them acts of genocide. But the government of Rwanda says they were only normal killings that have been carried out as in each war. You need to have people who would be killed. So the government of Rwanda says no genocide. Unfortunately, the government of Rwanda is supported by world's major powers, including the United States, the United Kingdom, and some others, but mostly the US government and the UK government. Also, there is another pattern that people who have been genocided, if the word exists in English, people who have been genocided in the past create a kind of coalition, solidarity, to deny genocide in other parts of the world. And for the case of the Congo, the report, it's not a secret. The report defined, let me first of all insist on the difference between human rights violation we know and genocide. I can, by myself, come and kill Safir by myself or as a member of a group, I can also kill any other person. I can kill thousands of persons. If it's done accidentally, it is crime, but it is not genocide. It is genocide only if it falls in the 5 categories named, enumerated by the Genocide Convention, and especially if it is done with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group, or mental harm members of that group. So, the intent to destroy is the key point. And that's where those who oppose recognition of genocide in Congo and in Sudan and other parts of the world try to manipulate the world's opinion. Because they will try to prove that there were no intentions to destroy the other people. And for the case of the Congo, first, go back to Rwanda, because Rwanda is, in Africa, the first one to experience genocide. It took only 4 months that the UN recognized that genocide was carried out in Rwanda by Hutu on Tutsi. Only about 4 months. But it took only, I think, 1 month that some leaders started speaking out about genocide in Rwanda. And it means that genocide was carried out in April 1994, and in October, the UN Security Council admitted and created a tribunal to punish those people who carried out genocide in Congo. I can say that they were very lucky for that kind of result. In Congo and in Sudan, but I want to focus in Congo, the same kind of genocide, and this one is a counter-genocide. A counter-genocide because led by Tutsi, who were victims of genocide in Rwanda, on Hutu refugees and Hutu Congolese citizens, both together, instinctively, on the territory of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I want to read the description given by the UN committee. Several incidents listed in the report point to circumstances and facts from which a court could infer the intention to destroy the Hutu ethnic groups in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in part, if these were established beyond all reasonable doubt. And there, the UN Commission referred to a court before stating that there is genocide. They say, we need to go to the court, and the court will qualify, will say if it were genocide or not. That wasn't the case for the Rwandan genocide. In the case of the Rwandan genocide, it went only to the UN from a special rapporteur who was sent to Rwanda in June, I mean 2 months after the genocide in Rwanda, only 2 months. And then the special rapporteur, who was a person from Ivory Coast, René Denisegui, he confirmed that there was genocide in Rwanda. And in October, the UN Security Council confirmed that there was genocide. And then after the qualification by the UN, only after that, the genocide went to a tribunal. But here, the UN, and I want to say that's a double standard of treatment. The UN committee says those acts may be qualified to be called genocide. The apparently systematic and the widespread nature of the attacks, which targeted very large numbers of Rwandan Hutu refugees and members of the Hutu civilian population, resulting in their death, reveal a number of damning elements that, if they were proven before a competent court, could be classified as crime of genocide. It's not me, that's the UN speaking. The extensive use of aged weapons, primarily hammers, and the systematic massacre of survivors, including women and children, after the camps had been taken, show that the numerous deaths cannot be attributed to a hazard of war or seen as equating to collateral damage. The majority of the victims were children, women, elderly people, and the sick, who were often undernourished and posed no threat to the attacking forces. It means that soldiers who came from Rwanda to track down Hutu in Congo were not threatened by those people they killed. But they killed them. Numerous serious attacks on the physical and mental integrity of members of the group were also committed, with a very high number of Hutu shot, raped, burnt, or beaten. If proven, the incident's revelation of what appears to be the systematic, methodological, and premeditated nature of the attacks listed against the Hutu is also marked. These attacks took place in each location where refugees had allegedly been screened by the FDL. FDL is a coalition created by Rwanda in Congo to try to hide that it invaded the Congo, but that it was a Congolese war by Congolese insurgents. It means first Rwanda negotiated with someone who was a long-standing opponent to the regime in Congo, Laurent Desire Kabila, who was in exile in Tanzania. Then using that person who was a leader well known in Congo and giving him Rwandan soldiers, then it becomes like a civil war in Congo instead of being an international war. And they created a coalition they named AFDL, Alliance des Forces Démocratiques pour la Libération du Congo. So, these attacks took place in each location where refugees had allegedly been screened by the FDL and the Army of Rwanda over a vast area of the country. The pursuit lasted 4 months, and on occasion, the humanitarian assistance intended for them was allegedly deliberately blocked, thus depriving them of resources essential to their survival. Thus, the apparent systematic and widespread attacks described in this report reveal a number of inculpatory elements that if proven before a competent court, and the UN report insists on proven first before a competent court, could be characterized as crime of genocide. Furthermore, no effort was made to make a distinction between Hutu, who were members of the ex-FAR and Interamwe. Ex-FAR and Interamwe are, FAR is the abbreviation of Forces Armées Rwandaises. It means the armed force of Rwanda before the genocide, and that carried out genocide in Rwanda. And Interamwe is are militias of Hutu that were formed before the genocide to kill Tutsi, and that who fled to Congo. And Hutu civilian, whether it means that those who were killed in Congo, there was no distinction between Hutu from Rwanda and Hutu of Congo, because there is also Hutu living in Congo who are product of immigration from Rwanda and Burundi. Whether or not they were refugees, this tendency to put all Hutu together and tar them with the same brush, that was the word they used, to tar them with the same brush. We need to just clean up them with the same brush, is also illustrated by the declarations made during the war, the awareness-raising speeches made by the FDL and the Army of Rwanda in certain places, according to which any Hutu still present in Zaire, Zaire is the former name of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, must necessarily be a perpetrator of genocide, since the real refugees had already returned to Rwanda. Okay, so it's just to show you that what happened in Congo is described by the UN committee that investigated in Congo for 2 years, that genocide has been carried out in Congo. And before the UN committee says it, some US officials, including Susan Rice, the one who is today US ambassador to the UN, she was Assistant Secretary for African Affairs. She said it before. And also another special rapporteur of the UN said it in June 1997. But the report has been written only in 2010, and the report confirms that genocide has been carried out in Congo. Still, we need to make all efforts to make it recognized by other people, and for that, as a Congolese and also scholar in the peace and conflict studies, my advice to Congolese and to other people who are sensitive to genocide crime is to appeal to the open-mindedness and the empathy, and why not compassion, of other people, world people who have been genocided, to cooperate and help Congolese to make clear that genocide happened in Congo. My other recommendation is to unite with those people and to lobby towards world's major powers, especially the United States, the UK government, China and Russia. I don't mention France because the position of France is clear on that point, to acknowledge that genocide happened in Congo. Thank you. Yeah, the fact that the same UN used the same mechanism. For the case of Rwanda, the UN sent a special rapporteur to investigate and establish if genocide was committed or not. A UN rapporteur is one person with a staff. And he worked for 2 months. And then, just after his report, the UN Security Council, it means the executive of the UN, admitted and said this is genocide and we need to set up a tribunal to trial criminals without any other kind of waiting. So they decided politically. And before they decided, there was a battle inside the UN between state members, especially the big five: US, UK, France, Russia, and China, and non-permanent members of the UN Security Council, especially Argentina, and I saw about 3, Costa Rica, that fought back to get genocide to be recognized in Rwanda. Then, for the case of the Congo, genocide has been carried out in 1996 and 97. And in 97, a UN rapporteur said there is genocide happening in Congo. Silence. And they kept repeating. And that's where NGOs are very necessary and scholars are very necessary to keep writing, because that's right, to raise the awareness. But it's not only simply to be writing. We need to go and lobby towards Washington DC, towards London, Moscow, and so on. Because that's the only way what is real genocide will be then recognized. Remember, even human rights have been recognized only after battle, after struggles. But you know, you and me, that human rights exist with the existence of human beings. But to be recognized, we exist since antiquity or so, I don't know, but human rights only exist since 1948. 1948, only because of the UN Declaration. So there is a battle to be led by you and me, if you want, and together to win the recognition.